My situation was that I was engaged to be married to a man who had bouts with violence, and he wasn't violent all the time. He was charming and loving and very concerned and caring, and he was a prince. But then there was the other side of him that was violent and mean-spirited and very manipulative, and he was a very powerful man in business. And he let me know how much it costs to have someone kidnapped and how much it costs to have someone killed. And I was very afraid of him, and he had a young daughter, and when he wasn't violent with me, he'd be violent with her, and I was afraid to leave him because of what he would do to his daughter. And I wanted to take her with me, but I was also afraid that if I did that, he would have me killed. He threatened to have my son kidnapped, and I was very afraid all around. And I finally got in touch with DASI and went into their safe house. Well, my success started the day that I walked through the doors of the safe house. I was able to take a deep breath, and I was able to cry, which I hadn't been able to do. I hadn't been able to take a deep breath. I was all tensed up and just living on terror. And I was in a safe place where it was warm and comfortable, and the people there, I was able to talk to somebody about what was going on, which I hadn't been able to do up until then, and there was somebody there who believed me. Other than that, people would think I was crazy if I told them the story of how he was having me followed and so on. It sounded like paranoia, but they knew that I was telling the truth because they had dealt with things like this before. So it was very helpful for me to be there and to know that people there understood what I was talking about and what I was going through. So after I stayed at the safe house, I went into therapy, and so did he. And he had custody of his daughter, but I stayed in close contact with her. And she very much wanted me to take custody of her, which I couldn't do, but I did make sure that she was safe, so that made me feel better. But anyway, he was in therapy, and so was I, and he seemed to be getting better. The violence had totally gone out of him, as far as I could see, and things got better between us, and so I married him. Lo and behold, I married him, and a year later he was having extramarital affairs, and the emotional abuse was too much for me, and I asked him to leave, and he left. And so I got a divorce and wound up going back to DASI's outreach program because the emotional abuse was more than I could bear. Because of the positive effect that DASI had had on my life, on my spirit, and on my emotional well-being and my sanity, I felt very strongly that I wanted to give back. And one of the counselors at DASI and myself got together, and we came up with a program for women in recovery from alcohol and drugs. I had a recovery from alcohol and drugs of about 35 years at the time. And my situation was unique in that I had recovery from alcohol and drugs and from abuse. I had childhood abuse issues, incest, and the violence from my ex-partner. And so we got together and came up with a program so that the women who were in the 12-step program could get the help from us that they couldn't get from the 12-step program because it wasn't being addressed. It was thought that in the 12-step program that you had to get sober and address these issues afterwards, when in fact these issues would cause women to slip from getting sober. It would cause women to drink again and not be able to get sober, these issues. So it was hindering their sobriety and causing them to stay drunk and stay high on drugs. So this group was very important in that it was very powerful in helping these women to stay sober and to stay clean from drugs. A few years ago, DASI was kind enough to honor me with an award called the Full Circle Award that said that I went from becoming a victim to a survivor to a thriver, and that I had come full circle in terms of taking from DASI to giving back. And it was an honor for me to receive this award. Don't give up on yourself. No matter what happens, no matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody does, don't give up on yourself. There's always help. There's always hope. Hang on patiently expecting. That's what hope stands for. Don't give up.